I didn't plan this moment. I didn't rehearse these feelings. Love doesn't arrive with permission, it arrives with truth. And today I stand here not to impress you, not to convince you, but to be honest. Because something real has happened inside me. Something simple. Something powerful. I am in love now. Love didn't change the world around me first, it changed the way I see it. The noise feels softer. The rush feels slower. Even silence has meaning. Love taught me that strength isn't loud, it's steady. It's choosing someone every day without needing applause. It's finding peace in another heartbeat and courage in vulnerability. This isn't a story about perfection, this is about presence, about showing up with an open heart and finally saying the words that matter most. I am in love now. I didn't wake up one day deciding to fall in love. It wasn't a plan or promise or a dramatic moment where everything paused and made sense. It came the way truth usually comes, slow, unannounced, without asking if I was ready. One day I noticed the world felt different, not brighter in a loud way, not perfect or polished, just calmer, like something inside me had finally found its place. I'm in love now, and saying that out loud feels less like a confession and more like breathing. Love didn't rush into my life, it didn't knock down doors or demand attention. It sat with me, it waited, it watched me be uncertain, guarded, tired of pretending I didn't care too deeply. And when I finally noticed it, love wasn't asking me to change who I was, it was asking me to stop hiding who I am. That's when I understood love isn't about losing yourself, it's about being seen without armor. Before love, I measured my days by survival, by what needed to be done, by what had to be endured. I learned how to stay strong, how to stay quiet, how to keep moving even when things felt heavy. Strength became a habit, silence became a shield. And then love arrived and gently questioned all of that. It didn't tell me I was wrong, it simply showed me there was another way to exist, a way that didn't require constant defense. Being in love now means I notice the small things, the pauses between words, the weight of a look, the comfort of knowing someone understands your silence without trying to fill it. Love taught me that connection doesn't need constant explanation. Sometimes it's just two people standing in the same moment, choosing not to run from it. I used to think love was something you earned after becoming perfect, after fixing all the broken pieces, after proving your worth. But love didn't wait for me to become better. It met me where I was, in my uncertainty, in my flaws, in the parts of me I thought were too quiet, too serious, too much. Love didn't ask me to be louder or softer, it asked me to be honest. There's a courage that comes with being in love that no one really talks about. Not the dramatic kind, not the key ND that looks good from the outside. It's the courage to be open when you've learned how to be closed. The courage to care deeply when you know how much it can hurt. The courage to stay when leaving feels easier. Love makes you brave in ways that don't ask for recognition. When I say I am in love now, I'm not talking about perfection or fantasy. I'm talking about waking up and choosing someone in the ordinary moments, choosing patience when misunderstanding shows up, choosing kindness when ego wants control, choosing to listen instead of winning. Love is not about grand gestures every day. It's about consistency, about showing up even when no one is watching. Love changed the way I listen. I listen with less judgment now. I listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. I've learned that love doesn't always need answers. Sometimes it just needs presence, a willingness to sit in discomfort without trying to fix it too fast. Love slowed me down enough to realize that being there matters more than being right. There was a time when I thought independence meant needing no one, being self-sufficient, carrying everything alone. Love didn't take that strength away from me. It reshaped it. It showed me that strength can also mean letting someone in, trusting another person with the parts of you that don't always feel strong, allowing someone to see your fears without using them against you. Being in love now feels like standing still without feeling stuck, like moving forward without rushing. Love gave my life a rhythm instead of a race. It taught me that not everything has to be figured out immediately. Some things are meant to be lived, not solved. I've learned that love isn't loud in its truth. It doesn't announce itself with constant noise. It's steady, it's patient, it remains even when things are uncertain. Love doesn't disappear when days get heavy. It doesn't leave when emotions get complicated. Real love stays. Not because it's easy, but because it's chosen. There's a vulnerability in love that feels risky. Opening your heart means accepting that you can be hurt, that nothing is guaranteed. But love showed me that avoiding pain also means avoiding connection. And a life without connection is just survival, dressed up as safety. When I'm in love, I don't feel complete because someone filled a missing piece. I feel complete because I stopped pretending I didn't want connection. Love didn't make me whole. It allowed me to share my wholeness. That's the difference. Love is not dependence, it's alignment. I notice how love changes the way I speak. There's more care now, more intention. Words feel heavier, not in a burdened way, but in a meaningful one. I understand that words can either protect or harm. Love makes you aware of that responsibility. Being in love now means I don't run from difficult conversations. I stay, I breathe, I try to understand before reacting. Love taught me that conflict isn't the enemy, disrespect is, silence is, avoida, NCE is. Love doesn't ask you to agree on everything, it asks you to stay human with each other. There's a quiet joy in knowing someone sees you clearly and stays anyway, not idealizing you, not projecting fantasies onto you, seeing you as you are and choosing you in reality. That kind of love doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove itself, it just exists, solid and calm. I've learned that love doesn't save you from loneliness if you haven't faced yourself first. But when you've made peace with who you are, love becomes a place you can rest, not a place you hide. Love doesn't rescue you, it walks beside you. Being in love now feels like understanding that time is precious. Not in a fearful way, but in an intentional one. I value moments more. I don't rush through conversations. I don't take presence for granted. Love makes you realize that attention is one of the purest forms of care. I used to think love would change me into someone else. Instead, it softened the edges without erasing the core. I'm still quiet, still thoughtful, still learning. But now there's warmth where there was distance, openness where there was restraint. Love doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for effort, for honesty, for accountability. It asks you to show up even when you're tired, especially when you're tired. Love is not maintained by feelings alone, it's maintained by choices. There's peace in knowing that love doesn't need constant validation. It doesn't live on words alone, it lives in actions, in consistency, in respect, in the way someone treats you when no one else is around. Being in love now means I'm more aware of my impact, how my mood affects someone else, how my silence can be felt. Love makes you mindful. It reminds you that you don't exist in isolation anymore. Your presence matters. I've learned that love isn't about holding on tightly. It's about holding gently, allowing space without creating distance, trusting without controlling, caring without possession. Love taught me patience. Not the passive kind, but the active kind. The kind that listens, waits, learns, the kind that understands. Growth doesn't happen on a schedule. Love respects timing. When I say I am in love now, I'm saying I've chosen vulnerability over comfort, connection over convenience, depth over distraction. Love didn't make my life easier, it made it more meaningful. I understand now that love doesn't complete sentences for you. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you a reason to keep asking the right questions, to keep becoming better, not for approval, but for growth. There's a quiet gratitude that comes with love. Gratitude for shared moments, for understanding glances, for support that doesn't need to be announced. Love teaches appreciation without possession. Being in love now means I'm present in my own life, not living ahead of myself, not stuck in what was. Love brings you into now, into this breath, this moment, this connection. I don't know what the future love okay's like, and love doesn't demand that I pretend I do. Love exists in honesty, not certainty. It asks for trust, not guarantees. Love showed me that being gentle doesn't mean being weak. It means being confident enough to choose kindness, to lower your defenses without losing your strength. I am in love now, and that means I'm learning every day. Learning how to listen better, how to show up more fully, how to be patient with myself and with someone else. Love is not a destination. It's a practice. A commitment made quietly, repeatedly, in moments that don't always feel poetic but always fade. Being in love is choosing presence over fear, and that choice is never loud. It doesn't arrive with applause or certainty. It arrives in moments where fear whispers all the reasons to stay guarded, to stay distant, to stay safe. And something deeper responds with a quiet decision to stay open anyway. Presence is not the absence of fear. Presence is what you choose when fear is still there, when your hands remember past disappointments, when your heart knows how much it can hurt, and yet you stay. For a long time, fear taught me how to survive. It taught me how to anticipate loss before it arrived, how to build walls that looked like independence, how to confuse control with safety. Fear told me that distance was strength, that silence was protection, that needing someone was weakness. And I listen because fear speaks in a voice that sounds practical. It sounds reasonable. It tells you it's just being careful. It tells you it's just looking out for you. But fear doesn't ask what kind of life you're protecting, only whether you'll avoid pain. Love didn't argue with my fear. It didn't try to overpower it. Love simply invited me to stay present even when fear showed up, to not disappear emotionally when things felt uncertain, to not shut down when vulnerability felt exposed. Being in love now means I don't leave moments just because they feel uncomfortable. I don't escape conversations just because they feel heavy. Presence means staying in the room with your emotions instead of running from them. There's a temptation to think presence is passive, that it means waiting or doing nothing. But presence is active. It requires attention. It requires effort. It requires you to put your phone down, your defenses down, your assumptions down. Presence is choosing to listen without rehearsing your response. It's choosing to see someone as they are instead of who you fear they might become. It's choosing to be here now instead of lost in what could go wrong. Fear is always future-focused. It lives in imagination. It creates scenarios that haven't happened yet and convinces you they already have. Presence pulls you back into reality. It asks you to look at what is actually happening, not what might. Love lives in that space. Love doesn't deny that things can go wrong. It simply refuses to let fear make all the decisions. When I'm present, I notice how much I used to miss. I used to be physically there, but emotionally somewhere else. Planning exits, guarding reactions, measuring words. Love asked me to stop rehearsing my escape and start experiencing the moment. To trust that being here fully was worth the risk of being hurt. Being in love now means I don't wait for perfect conditions to show care. I don't wait until I'm fearless to be honest. Presence means showing up as you are, not as the version of yourself you think will be easier to love. It means allowing your uncertainty to exist without letting it control you. NS admitting when you're scared instead of pretending you're unaffected. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells you not to invest too much, not to care too deeply, not to expect anything. Presence challenges that by asking you to invest anyway, to care without guarantees, to expect effort without entitlement. Love isn't reckless, but it is brave. It understands that the cost of never being present is higher than the risk of being hurt. I've learned that presence is what builds trust, not promises, not words alone, but consistent attention, being there when it's inconvenient, staying when it would be easier to withdraw, showing up emotionally, not just physically. Love doesn't grow in absence. It grows where presence is practiced daily. There are moments when fear tells you to protect yourself by pulling away, to go quiet, to become distant. Presence asks you to do the opposite, to lean in gently, to ask questions instead of making assumptions, to communicate instead of disappear. Love thrives on clarity, and presence creates clarity. Being present also means being accountable. You can't hide behind confusion or detachment when you're truly here. You have to acknowledge your impact.